God has called us to be fruitful and multiply. Only some people have the gift of singing this like Paul did in the Bible. Many people want to be married or have a spouse or have a family. And for order for us to do that, we got to have the fruits of the Spirit. We got to have the godlike character. We got to have kindness, gentleness, goodness, patience, and love. All these characteristics will help you attract that spouse. But sometimes God don't want us to have that spouse just yet. We got to trust in his timing. Sometimes he want to build our character up so he could bless us with that spouse down the road. But we can't rush into things. Like I say, we got to trust his timing. A lot of us are hungry or just thirsty for just to have somebody else in our life. And we rush into things and ruin everything. We may jump into a relationship and start having sex before marriage. And that's against God's rules. Or we might be shacking up, living together. All these things are against God's will. We got to trust God and do things the right way. We tend to do things backwards and wonder why we never get ahead in life. But in order to attract that person, let God build your character up. And once that happens, you'll be able to attract that person, that godly spouse. Sometimes you may see somebody in church because they in church or they go to church doesn't mean they doesn't mean there could be a potential godly spouse, because as soon as they get out of church, they cursing somebody out or they doing worldly things. And because they go to church every day doesn't mean anything either. Sometimes you may go to church once a week or once a month, but outside the church, they doing so much good things and godly things, represent God the right way. And sometimes they might be going to church all the time, but like I said, outside the church, they're doing the exact opposite, living the worldly way. We should look out for the fruit of the spirit of somebody that we want to marry or somebody we want to be with. Usually, God will confirm that person too. We got to wait on God and trust his timing. Usually he'll confirm that person if that's the person he wants you to be with. It will line up with his word and will line up with the things that he's showing you. But usually, if that person is not a godly spouse, you will see them. If y'all going out to eat and that person is treating the waiter or the janitor wrong, usually that's not going to be a godly spouse. Because down the road, they're going to treat you the same way. You want somebody going to be kind to the waiter, kind to the janitor, or whoever they may run into. Because the same way they treat them is how they're going to treat you down the road. All these characteristics is what we got to look out for, because they got all the glitz and the glamour on, they got the jewelry on or whatever, doesn't mean that they're the right one for you. Looks are good, but it's only temporary. We got to look at the heart and make sure it line up what God want for us. The looks, the jewelry, all this flashy stuff only lasts for so long, but the heart and how people act will last forever. That's what we got to go off on. That's how you attract a godly spouse. First, you got to make sure yourself is godly first, and you're doing the things that you will want your spouse to do. If you're not doing that, you're not going to attract a godly spouse. It's just that simple. So we got to trust in God and trust in ourselves as well, that we're doing the work that God requires for us to represent him and represent his kingdom. See, we're children of God, so we should be acting like that so we can attract that spouse that we want. If you do it this way, it'd be a lot easier, a lot less headache down the road instead of doing it backwards, jumping to relationships after relationships. Doing that only ruin your chance to have that godly spouse on the road. We got to be able to continue to have a tight bond with ourselves so we could attract that person. But if we out dating everybody we run into, we only hurting ourselves. So make sure that's what you're doing. You're seeking God first and who he wants you to be with, and make sure you're waiting on his time and being patient. I hope this video helped you. See you on the next one. Peace.